Come on. Look, there it is. Crap. I'm off the screen, I closed it instead. Oh, my link's dodgy. Yeah. 1, 2.
Morning, everyone. Have we got live stream ready to go? Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the Ordinary Council meeting today. I declare the Ordinary meeting of 24 July 2024 open at 9 a.m. I advise members of the public that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council standing orders. Councillors and staff are reminded of their responsibilities under their respective codes of conduct, both inside the council and externally on behalf of Council. I would like to start by the tradition of the land on which we meet here today and pay my respects to elders past and present. We recognise their deep enduring connection to country and we extend our respect and gratitude for their wisdom and culture. Welcome councillors, Whitsunday Regional Council staff, members of the public and the media. Okay, for item number 1, apologies, leaves of absence. Record no apologies for the meeting. Item 2, condolences. Are there any councillors that wish to acknowledge any recently deceased members of the community? And on behalf of Whitsunday Regional Council, we would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the recently departed of the Whitsundays region and offer our sincere condolences to their families and loved ones. Can you all please stand for a minute of silence? Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. So our exciting first item today is the Junior Elite Athletes presentations. My first as Mayor, and yeah, it's great to see them all in attendance. Please come in. Thank you. You got you all? Excellent, thank you. Council provides financial support for junior elite athletes who participate in a representative competition at regional, state or national level. Please come in. The grant is provided to applicants by Council to assist in meeting the costs associated with participating in a representative sports program. Today we have some junior elite athletes joining us to be recognised for their outstanding achievements. So I'll call completed at the World Windsurfing Titles in Perth. Alexis Howell, who competed in the North Queensland Under-12s aquathlon in Harvey Bay. Well done. Mia Britkoff, who competed in the Senior State Age Netball Championships in Brisbane. Remy Hedges, who competed in the Senior State Age Netball Championships in Brisbane. Olivia Boyce, who competed in the Senior State Age Netball Championships in Brisbane. Katie Austin, who competed in the Senior State Age Netball Championships in Brisbane. And Jack Schaaf, who competed at the 2024 Oceania and Australia Sailing Championships. Other athletes who are unable to attend the presentation today include Wesley Homewood, who competed at the North Queensland Under-15 Cricket Championships, Julie Webb, who competed at the Senior State Age Netball Championships, Sarah Finn, who competed at the Senior State Age Netball Championships, Lily Batalisby, who competed at the Senior State Age Netball Championships, Lachlan Telford, who competed at the North Queensland Cross Country Championships, and Manua Dow, who competed for Queensland at the National Rugby League Championships in Port Macquarie. Can we please give all these athletes a big round of applause? Thank you for coming today, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item number 3, which is a confirmation of minutes. I'll move. Deputy Mayor Councillor Michelle Wright will second. Director Bradshaw, I'll hand over to you to speak to.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, first item, Councillor, is to move for the adoption of the special meeting budget minutes from the 26th of June 2024. I am seeking to make an amendment to those minutes where on page 10 of the budget minutes there's reference to the words by 6%, and to remove those words to avoid any confusion in relation to the overall increases in waste charges across the region, so that the minutes be confirmed subject to that amendment to page 10.
No, just having to move it.
Yeah, we already had a move and a second for the minutes.
That was the minutes, this is the special meeting.
Okay, yep.
The intent was to do them separately, Mr Mayor.
Okay, all right, so you're seeking so that was for the special meeting? Okay, so we'll vote on those separately as well. Okay, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. And for the ordinary meeting, move Councillor Finlay, second Councillor Wright. Did you have anything further to add, Director Bradshaw?
Not to those minutes.
Okay, for the minutes of the ordinary meeting, I put that to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item number 4, business arising. Would any council like to raise any business arising from the previous minutes? No? Okay, item number 5 is the mayoral minute. There is no mayoral minute. Item number 6, notice of motion. We have no notice of motions received for this meeting. Item 7, deputations. No deputations have been received for the meeting. Item number 8, petitions or questions on notice. Does any councillor have a petition they wish to put on the table? No? And no questions on notice from the previous meeting. Item 9, questions from the public gallery. We've received no public questions in advance of this meeting. No questions from the public gallery. Item 10, committees reports, which we have none for this meeting. Okay, so moving into our officers' reports. First item, 11.1 is carrying over from a previous meeting, and I'd like to move a procedural motion to put it back on the table. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Just putting it back on the table because it was carried over from a previous meeting.
So this is the recommendation, take it off the table.
Yeah, take it off the table, yeah.
And then there's another motion, put it back on the table.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
No, that's to put it back on the table, yeah.
We've just put it back on the table.
is taking it off.
Yep, from the previous, yeah.
That's all the vote.
Yep, put it back on the table.
So,
Just clarification is made, the motion says the council takes off the table report.
That's right. So,
Taking it off, and then we're going to move another motion to put it back on again.
Please.
yeah. Left it, yep. Okay. So that was carried unanimously. So the item 11.1, minor change, application development permit material change of use, transport depot at Barclay Street, Mount Coolin. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Tella, would you mind just putting up my conditions up on the screen, please?
Just to confirm your
Yeah, yeah.
amendment?
So making amendment there.
Yep, can I seek a seconder? Councillor Simpson?
Yeah, I will. I'll just wait to come up on the screen, so that's fine. Yeah, thank you, Tella. Through the chair, look, I'm glad that we've had a bit of a chance to go through these conditions. We have had discussions surrounding, I guess, just the different types of pavement and that sort of stuff that is out there, and really looking at the area out there, it is the heartland of beef grazing and mining. So to me, it's a perfect location for a transport depot. I think the conditions actually fit in with the surrounding amenity, so we're not asking for anything that's out of the ordinary. They still have to abide by the conditions that are up on the screen. However, I just feel this is more workable in a community like Mount Coolin. So yeah, look, I'm happy with this, and I really do wish that everyone would support this today.
Council. Director McGuffin, did you have any further context you'd like to add at all to the matter at hand?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, no, I think there's been enough discussion at the earlier meeting and also at the briefings. I think there's a good understanding across the table about what the issues are.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Just in relation to these conditions, it still has the 2 metre wide strip in 5.2, 2 metre wide concrete strip. The officer's recommendations is to reduce that to 30 centimetres. I didn't know if you were trying to remove the entire strip, concrete strip, or not.
Yeah, there is no concrete, it's gravel.
Yeah, so it's a 2 metre wide protective gravel strip on the shore shoulder.
Condition 5.2 up there has
2 metre wide strip.
Yeah, 2 metre wide gravel strip.
So I think for me, got to look at the officer's recommendation of reducing that width just back to the 30 centimetres. There'll be constant turning traffic of heavy vehicles across the road edge there. There may be other traffic like that in Mount Coolin, but it's not across a repetitive driveway dealing with multiple vehicles. The other conditions I spoke to, which I think to work through these, is about whether this is the appropriate site for a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week truck stop. And that's my issue, is that we shouldn't just be allowing trucks to come in and out of there 24/7. I do support the Deputy Mayor's proposition to reduce it to only in emergency circumstances or for the safety and well-being of drivers and operators, but I also think we need to specifically exclude both livestock vehicles and any vehicle over 19 metres. So at this point, I'd just like to refer to the Director that in the state's referral, there was a reference to maximum 19 metre vehicles turning in there. In these conditions, we don't seem to be limiting the size of vehicles to stop B-doubles going in.
Director, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bowman, yes, you're accurate. The main roads are saying that they don't want the super large vehicles entering the site. There are other locations where those existing vehicles park because of the inability, I guess, to park on the site. So we're comfortable that even if there is an instance where the large vehicles are parking contrary to main roads requirements, we'll be able to get them to park elsewhere, which is very close to the subject site, if they are still looking to use this site.
Councillor Finlay, would you?
Oh, probably more procedural when Mr. Mayor has said, I'd like to support the officer's recommendation. I'm just not sure how we actually go from that.
So we're talking to the alternate motion at the moment.
Thank you, through the mayor.
Councillor.
Just looking at this report, like there is a lot of support from industries very similar to Searles Transport that have actually offered letters of support. So I think the support for this development out there and these conditions to keep this operational, there's more support for it than against. Like I said before, look, there was as an example, there was a transport depot that we recently knocked back, which was in town, and it was a safety concern for kids catching the bus. And this is what I'm saying, like this is the most ideal place for this facility. It is for that, and I've put this in the conditions, it is for the safety and well-being of drivers and operators that are out there trying to do a job. And the support letters that have been given, I think, show that there is a definite need. They're not going to abuse it because they're out there to work. They're out there to do a job and then they go home to their families. So 100%, I think this is the right way to go today.
Is there any comments?
Just one, the hours of use, 6 to 6:30, weekdays only, like being in a rural zone, a transport depot, shouldn't they have some time if there was some maintenance need to be done on a Saturday morning? Would that be okay? Or just comment on it?
Through Mr. Mayor, look, what we're dealing with is what the applicant has requested and asked for. So we would expect if there is instances such as you suggest, they would be very infrequent. We wouldn't like to see the use of maintenance occurring every Saturday or every Sunday or things like that. I think there's enough controls in place here that if it does arise, we'll be talking to the proponent. But I don't expect that it will develop into any sort of a maintenance situation.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. I do agree that the majority of councillors voted for this to be a transport depot for the maintenance of roads. That was conditioned to be between 6 AM and 6:30 PM on the weekdays. That's where people can go out and do the road maintenance, come back, stay the night, go out to work the next day. What we're varying here is opening it up to 24 hours as a truck stop. So I've questioned, that could mean that a truck comes in at 11 o'clock at night, gets up again at 4 AM and, disturbs the surrounding residents 4 times each week. I think that's far worse than mowing a lawn on a Saturday morning. Vehicles that can come in there at any time of the night. The neighbour has said he's recorded the trucks at 86 decibels. And by not putting any time limits on this, that can happen at any time, 24/7, 7 days a week. I don't see that gives the residential amenity to even a small town like Mount Coolin. The other thing is, we all do a lot of kilometres on the highway driving home from the Bowen tourism the other night. The trucks are all parked up in the rest stops down the highway. They're used to it, they write their logs, they do their hours, they're well equipped to take their rest where and when they need to. I don't see there is an additional need for that in Mount Coolin when we've got the hotel and Collinsville up the road one way and the truck stop 50 kilometres odd down the road the other way.
Councillor Finlay, did you have a comment on this? No?
Yeah, I guess so. From Mr. Mayor, I fully support the application, and don't get me wrong on that. I guess I just, and I'd like to, I guess the question is the difference between officers' recommendations and Councillor Clark's recommendation here, and mainly changed to 5.2, I think. Right, sorry. I really got mixed up today. I'll start again, Mr. Mayor. So,
You're not the
Councillor
only one.
Wright, yeah, I'm used to it.
You put your foot in it.
Don't go there any further. Yeah, so I guess my question is the difference between 5.2 and the officer's recommendation is a 30 centimetre concrete strip along there to Councillor Wright's recommendation of a 2 metre wide protected gravel strip. I'm just wondering, is that of any significance, I suppose, in terms of the whole application, and what's the intention of putting a concrete strip as to a gravel strip?
Did you you want to speak to that, Lord Director?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Feneley. Look, the issue that we took into account was the protection of the seal on Mine Street. My interpretation of Councillor Wright's recommendation and the condition that she's proposing is that the construction of Mine Street won't necessarily be undermined by the activity that is likely to happen from the site. So that was the intention of the concrete strip.
Thank you, Director. I'll come back to you, Councillor Rock, for the final word on
Yes.
before we put the amendment to the vote.
Thank you. Through the chair, Tell, would you mind just bringing up the map, the site map, please, of sorry to put you on the spot.
Is it that one?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Okay, so from that, just in finishing, no, not that one, the one, sorry, the one Taylor. Yeah, I just want to put that in context, like the road. So that's a main road. So that Barclay Street. So it runs past there. There's vehicles, like I said, heart of mining, beef, agriculture, industry. And that's the main road in and out of Mount Coolin to Moranbah. So to me, like, there's vehicles travelling this way all of the time, whether they're road trains, heavy vehicles, whatever they may be, they're going this way all the time. So like I said before, this is a perfect place for this site. I think what they're asking for is not unreasonable. There's a lot of support for this application, and I think we should be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor. Just pull up that amended motion there for us. The motion, as per articulated by Councillor Wright and displayed on the screen, I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 5-2. Okay, moving on to the next item. 11.2, development application for development permit reconfiguration of a lot 2184 Crystal Brook Road, Crystal Brook. Councillor Simpson.
I'd like to move to approve this, if I'm going to second that.
Yeah.
Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. My reason to change this one to approve rather than refuse is I believe it's consistent with the other neighbouring land parcels up there. They're all 5 acre lots along there. There were no submissions received when it went out to public consultation, and it doesn't, to me, it has no impact on the rural landscape on the other side of the road. Been grazing pretty much in this instance, and and as long as it remains rural and 5 acre lots and doesn't turn to rural res where they can cut them down further, I'm happy with this.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Anyone else like to speak to the matter? Councillor Downing.
Thank you. This has been a difficult one for me. I do think there are some 2 hectare lots out there, but there's also still a number of 4 hectare lots. If it was active cane land straight across the road, I'd be worried about contested land. I still feel the same way even with the grazing. My concern is that by subdividing this block, you're then opening up the other blocks out there, and then it does turn into rural residential zoning as we move forward. And then we end up, there's already rural res zoned across the road, then we end up with more haphazard development of these blocks being broken down again. So I know we've been looking for further information to decide specific land uses. The report comes back to us and says there is adequate rural residential land supply, and this is why the planning scheme was set like this, to protect rural land from this fragmentation. So without further information on the land use, I'm, as usual, wary to go against further subdivision within our rural zones.
Would anyone else like to speak to the matter? So it's being moved as amended motion, is that correct?
No, it's just a motion.
Yeah, just a motion, but to approve, yeah. Okay. So the motion that council approve the development application for development permit at 2184 Crystal Brook Road, Crystal Brook, I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 6-1. Okay, item 11.3, development application, development permit, materials, change of use, short-term accommodation, 52 Trader Crescent, Cannonvale.
I'd like to move to refuse.
Councillor Barman moved to refuse, second Councillor Clifford. Director, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council will obviously be familiar with the issues surrounding short-term accommodation that have been discussed for some time. The local law is being implemented and as per Council's wish, we are preparing a review of planning issues to bring back to Council with an expectation to a possible amendment to the planning scheme. However, in this instance, the application's come in, it needs to be treated with the controls that are in place at the time. It's in the low density residential zone. There are a couple of overlays, bushfire and acid sulphate soils that don't really have a lot of implications for the development. It does sit in Trader Crescent and it's the first short-term accommodation in that general area. A typical 4-bedroom house, sufficient car parking in the garage and in the driveway. It did come to Council via compliance issues in regard to concerns about parking and also rubbish. The benefit of the proposed approval is that those aspects will be better controlled and can be monitored better than what they have in the past. It did go through a public notification process. There were 5 submissions received from 3 properties, either across the road or certainly very close to the subject land. However, in this instance, as Council will be aware of the previous applications that have been dealt with, it is considered to be consistent with the planning scheme. Conditions of approval will be imposed and can be managed, and there are sufficient car parking spaces available. So on balance, Mr Mayor, the recommendation has been made to approve it, notwithstanding Councillor Bowman's motion.
Councillor Bowman, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. I think we know from submissions that continue to come in that surrounding residents, or even a recent email you may have seen, surrounding residents that have experienced short-term accommodation, even in the presence of planning and local law approval, are still feeling their amenity is being disrupted. If we go back just to May, when Neil's department released their most recent report, there's been 8 short-term approvals. They don't all come before us. Not one of those have been in Airlie Beach. 5 of them have been in Cannonvale. If this goes through today, that's 6 long-term residential dwellings that possibly move totally across to short-term accommodation. That's every 2 weeks we've been losing a dwelling while we're constantly talking about cost of living crisis, housing affordability and the housing crisis. For me, this one is even more separate because it is in your everyday suburban residential street. It is not within our tourist centres, it is amongst our everyday residents and ratepayers. And that's why I look to the officer who says that this could only be approved if it fits with the character and amenity of the area, and I can stand here with my hand on my heart and say I don't believe it does. So that's why I've moved to refuse.
Thank you. Councillor Finlay.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I support Councillor Bowman's resolution up there, a motion to refuse it. As officer said, it's in our low density residential zone, and I think there is a lack of rental houses available around our region, and so I think this is a step forward. I know we're going to review our scheme in the future regarding short-term housing accommodation, in particular in low density residential zone. So I just support Councillors Bowman and Councillor Clifford's motion there on the grounds of what they were just saying.
To speak for, against?
Just a question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair. Director Neil, if this is to be refused today, and it goes to court, where do we stand with this?
Thanks, Councillor Wright. Through you, Mr Mayor. I would request that if the application gets refused, we need to identify the reasons for refusal as part of the resolution. If the applicant wishes to take this matter to appeal, it will be very similar to the other applications that Council has refused and gone to appeal. Councillors will be aware of recent advice that we received from McCullough Robertson, although I don't think that the Mayor and Councillor Finlay would have been exposed to that because that was prior to the election. But it fits under that basic philosophy that the legal advice that we have is that the likelihood of success is minimal, and that's come through in our consideration and our recommendation.
Further comment, Councillor Clifford?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think the fact that we might get sued has got nothing to do with it. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And to have short-term accommodation in dormitory suburbs, in my opinion, is wrong. These are the people that live there, that go out to work, to stock the shelves of Coles and Woolies, that make our coffee, work in our shops, and they have the right to the peaceful enjoyment of their property. And local law or no local law, some of them are getting away with murder. The agents are not responding. Nobody wants to cause any great trouble or by actually dobbing them, but I'm sure Councillor Bowman has received the same comments that I have. That just rings out. And until we say, if you don't get a response from the agent, you ring our after hours number and it's taken seriously, and we send security around there to sort it out, I will not be supporting any of these. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments speaking against the motion? Councillor Simpson?
Make a comment. Might be a surprise to Councillor Bowman, but I might go alongside with you on this one. I don't think I've ever gone against the officer's recommendation on a short-term accommodation one, but most of them have something to do with tourism. You know, it's sea views or the big house on the coast or even something in the rainforest, something different. But this one's right in the smack middle of a residential suburb, and I'm happy to support your motion here. So see how we go.
Final word to Councillor Bowman, and maybe articulate why. You've got your reasons up there.
I have just emailed through some reasons for refusal. I have read the legal advice, and I think here is the time to discuss it. But for me, the reasons to refuse are the development does not comply with the Whitsunday planning scheme, the strategic intent, purpose and overall outcomes of the low density residential zone code, the number of existing short-term accommodation uses in the low-density residential zone far outweighs the available dwellings for long-term residents. My definition of available means what is there for the market today, not whether they are in a residential use or a short-term use. It is what is available to meet our demand today. And my third condition is that there are no conditions of approval that can be imposed to address the non-compliances. And that comes specifically to us stating that we will provide a high level of residential amenity in these zones. And that's what I think we would do today by refusing this.
Thank you.
Councillor Bowman. Okay, the motion that council refuse the development application, material change of use, short-term accommodation at 52 Trader Crescent, I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 5-2. Okay, item 11.4. Request for minor change to development permit for reconfiguration of a lot into 6 lots at 159 Wrights Road, Strathdickey.
Move to refuse.
Moved to refuse Councillor Collins. And seconded Councillor Finlay. Director McGaffin, would you please speak to?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This application has previously been considered by council. There was a proposal to subdivide it into 6, but it had driveways down each perimeter boundary. And when council approved the application, they required 5 of the lots to get access off the internal roadway. To comply with the development control manual, the roadway needed to be 5.5 metres wide. The proponents had a look at that. There is a plan, if you wouldn't mind finding it for me, Taylor, please, that shows that the access is 213 metres long. The applicant would like to have it primarily 3 metres wide, but there'd be passing bays that would extend 5 metres at 80 metre intervals. We think that that is too far apart. There could be up to 50 vehicle movements a day coming in and out of the road. The standard for passing bays is every 30 metres, so we just think that the proposal is not up to what we would expect to be the required standard in a subdivision that provides 5 lots with access. Certainly the proponent is looking to reduce lower upfront costs, but the issue is that the standard, it's well below the standard, and we're very keen to make sure that if the subdivision is created, it's provided with suitable access.
Comments?
I'll see.
Briefly, Councillor Bowman.
I grew up on acreage, 3 lots, with a concrete easement with a passing bay. It didn't work. I think even at 30 metres with this amount of traffic, you'll probably find similar issues. So I know from experience it may seem cheaper up front, but I think the residents that purchase these lots and hopefully live there happily ever after would be happy to pay at this stage to go with the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak against, for? No further comment? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. Settle down. We stand up first. Okay, that motion that council refuse the minor change request for development permit for reconfiguration of 1 lot into 6 lots and access easement at 159 Wrights Road, Strathdickey, I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 6-1. Okay, item 11.5, donation requests approved under 2000. CEO, want to speak first on this?
Mr. Mayor, so I just wish to advise that the report is for noting only and that the donations have already been made under delegation. So we actually have already used the delegation power. This is a report that actually reports back in relation to that. And since Council is not making any decision except to note on this matter, there is no conflict for the elected members who may have conflicts or may have association with some of these groups.
Thank you. Happy with the line? Move, Councillor Finlay. And second, Councillor Wright. Thank you. Director Wright, did you want to speak to this at all?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is just to basically tidy up the 23-24 period. It's the last month, of course, being June, for the donations that processed under $2,000. So you'll see we have the ESA, International Alpha Epsilon's Branch Proserpine for their 60th anniversary celebration of $200. The Kirradella Community Cooperative Society, their NAIDOC with Family Fun Day, down from Beach, $660. The Bowen Netball Association for the annual club carnival, that was $1,000. The Collinsville State High School, that's the PNC, for the 2024 Bacon Busters event, $1,000. Bowen Chamber of Commerce, the Thanks Docs, the commemorative event. Now that was the event, the function, I should say, that they had for $1,000. There's other work being done in regards to the Thanks Doc. Plus the Ronald McDonald House Charities North, and it's for a V8 experience raffle at the Don River Dash for $2,000 for June. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any comments? Councillor Barnett?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to the reporting, appreciate it being brought up today, but the resolution does state a monthly report listing the applications process. In the executive summary in this report, it says a monthly report is submitted to Council advising of the donations that have been approved. Probably just request again that we look at the interpretation of that resolution. I feel the monthly report should give us all the applications that have come in, what they've requested and what they've been given, and if they have been refused, just so we're across that information.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you like to speak to that one?
As you'll be aware, the next month is a slightly different way of presenting our information. We will take that on notice and determine how the best way to provide you with that information is, so that you're aware of all applications that have been lodged. Obviously, in terms of the ones we're voting on, they're the ones that actually have been approved.
Any further comments, councillors? Okay, the motion that Council note the donations and in-kind support provided for the month of June 2024 as per the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 11.6, Trust Fund Policy. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Simpson. Director Bradshaw, would you like to touch on this one, please?
I can do that, Mr Mayor. Morning, councillors. What you have in front of you today is really a mechanical resolution that allows us to proceed to continue to hold the trust fund. We have requirements under the legislation to do that. It has been some time since this policy had been reviewed, and it's really brought back to council for sign-off and approval at this point in time. It outlines what the intent of the trust fund is, how we'll manage that trust fund, and complies with our legislative obligations. Happy to take any questions, ma'am.
Questions or comments, councillors? None, thank you. The motion that council adopt the attached trust fund policy within the report, I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.7, LGAQ 2024 motions and annual conference and annual general meeting attendance. Move Councillor Wright, second Councillor Clifford. Director, would you like to speak to that one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, you have before you a report that seeks to table 3 motions for consideration at the annual conference of the Local Government Association of Queensland. They are policy-based matters, and I'll go through those. The second part of the resolution seeks to confirm attendance of councillors at that. In relation to the first part, the 3 motions going forward are one in relation to the funding associated with the replacement of assets going forward. What was brought out in certainly our budget this year, the revaluation of our assets, and particularly our long-term and high-value assets, has had an impact obviously on the operating position of council, and we're seeking some clarity in the guidance that's issued by the state government that will align with the accounting standards in relation to that. And so that's what the first motion seeks to do. I have been informed that there is a motion from an adjoining council that is not dissimilar, again looking at that impact of funding the depreciation on assets that council may not replace into the future. The second motion is around trying to seek to have an engagement protocol in place in relation to renewable energy initiatives and projects that came along. And again, through the Mayor and Councillor Wright, we saw this as an issue at the Australian Local Government Association conference, where mostly after the fact, councils are dealing with the impacts of those projects and those initiatives across the region, whether they're inside or outside the council area. And at this point, there's no mechanism or legislative call-up for that to occur. So essentially those applications can proceed without much involvement of the local government, and we're just seeking to be involved in the discussion. The final resolution that's been proposed there seeks to draw some consistency and alignment in the legislation around gifts, benefits and conflicts of interest. There are vastly different ways in state, federal and local government on how these things are managed at the moment, and whilst there's been a number of integrity reviews through Queensland over the last, say, 7 years or so, there still isn't a real consistency between what happens across each level of government, and we're just seeking to have that matter reviewed. Finally, we're seeking to appoint attendants for the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and I think it was Councillor Clifford, if I can just see the resolution, Taylor, for part 2, to attend the annual conference, which I believe will be in Brisbane this year. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So just confirming, the attendance is myself, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Clifford. Any comments or questions, councillors?
Mr. Mayor, and thanks Director Jason for the explanation, and and fully support all those motions, and in particular number 1. As we know, we've just adopted our budget, and depreciation is huge, and it's only going to keep on growing as the costs keep going up. We do have some assets out there that we probably wouldn't replace as is, as they are now, and but unfortunately we still have to provide depreciation for it. We can not fund that depreciation and have a deficit budget, which is not the appropriate way to go as per the standard. So this motion, hopefully, if an over account gets up, it might give us some latitude to have a bit of discretion on what we actually depreciate, or what we fund for depreciation, what we don't.
And I'll just talk to the motion regarding engagement and communication around the energy projects. I think we're aware that there are a number of these proponents and projects starting to operate within our region. I think it's important that we make it clear to particularly the state government that we need to be part of those discussions for and on behalf of our community, to make sure that there's regional benefit delivered, but also that those projects are delivered in alignment with our community expectations. Any further comments, councillors? Okay. So the motion that council submits the motions per the report to the LGAQ annual conference, and also appoints myself, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Clifford to attend the annual conference. Put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.8, Coastal Leaders Forum. I'll move this one. And also just like to note that upon reviewing the program, I would like to nominate myself in addition to Councillor Bowman to attend the event. Second, Councillor Clifford. Would you like to speak to this one, Director?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Coastal Leaders Forum is an opportunity, obviously, for all those councils that share like interests to discuss emerging issues and address, I suppose, issues related to managing the coastal impacts on local government areas. Council has attended this forum in the past, and we see value in how we can partner with other councils and understand what key issues are of similar nature to local government and how they can be managed both effectively and using innovation in managing those issues along our coastline. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, councillors? The motion that council nominates myself and Councillor Bowman to attend the Coastal Leaders Forum in Townsville. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.9, ALGWA State Conference 2024 attendance. Moved Councillor Wright. I'll second that one. Director Bradshaw, would you like to speak to that one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Australian Local Government Women's Association has conferences nationally and in each state. This is the Queensland State Conference that attendance is being sought for. The theme for the conference is Learn Today, Lead Tomorrow, and it's about addressing those emerging issues, not just related to women in local government, but also the broader sector issues, and provides a good networking opportunity to mix and learn from other local governments around Queensland, but also to see what topics and emerging issues exist right across the sector. Happy to take any questions.
Could I just
Yes, Cliff?
clarify with Councillor Wright, if you don't wish to, or you're away?
I have a very important event I've got to attend, so yeah.
Okay, fine, I just wanted to make sure, so,
Thank you, Councillor
Thank
Clifford.
you, thanks, sorry.
Any further comments or questions? Thank you. The motion to council nominate Councillor Jean Clifford to attend the ALGWA. Algwa, there we go.
There we go.
In Brisbane. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 6-1. Thank you. Item 11.10, monthly finance report. See if you've got the same spring in your stride now. Move Councillor Finlay, second Councillor Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The director has a bit of zeal in him.
I think he spent that a bit early, so.
Just want to again highlight one of the absolute key areas of the Council's ordinary meetings each month, and that's the consideration of the monthly finance report, a topic which I know people around the table are always interested in. The month of June report presented is really just an interim report, noting that we are doing the annual financial statements for the period to the end of June 2024. So what is presented are interim accounts at this point in time, noting that there will be work done particularly on the year-end accruals for both revenue expenditure, and they will impact the operating position. What I did want to highlight in this report though is the non-payment of the federal financial assistance grants that have been prepaid previously in financial years, and so that sum for us is around $6 million. That revenue wasn't received in the 23-24 financial year. That will have an impact on the operating position, but you can see at the moment we are forecasting still a slight surplus of about $700,000. Those numbers will change as we process the year-end accounts and accruals. The other point to note in this work that's been done so far is that the value of assets to date for the whole of the organisation has increased there to $1.5 billion. There will be further capitalisation going, but what's important to note there is the value of the assets and the value of the community and the organisation continues to grow. That's supported by the growth in the region, but also reflects the continuing development of the asset base and the acceptance and update of existing infrastructure right across the region. Council has finished the year with a sound cash balance and will continue to maximise the returns that we receive from that across the financial year. And just noting, with still work to be done around the accruals, we were about 75% delivery on our capital budget, so 57 million out of about 76 million, and we'll see what's still left in the accrual payments which have been processed over the last couple of weeks. Given their interim accounts, Mr Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions, but we hope to be presenting the annual financial statements potentially to the August meeting of Council, pending audit and the meeting of the deadlines that exist at the moment. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Bowman?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just know with the accrual still coming through and beside the large difference in the grants, just the amount of the outstanding accruals and leaving us with only that 774,000 surpluses. Is there a possibility that we're shifting the timing of this grant would push us across the line?
Through you, Mr Mayor. There is, Councillor. So we're also looking at how we're funding the remediation into waste landfill works as well. So those provisions had previously been calculated over 20 years. There's been some standard and guidance changes and they're now calculated over 30 years. So that's also adding pressure to the operating position for this financial year. I'm really not in a position to confirm one way, but What I can say is that the majority of local governments in Queensland will be significantly impacted by this. So those councils that are majority grant dependent, they will definitely be looking at a deficit without that grant being paid in the financial year. The timing was the federal government released the money, I think it was on the 28th of June, Friday was the 30th of June. That's been dealt with differently across different states, and it certainly was a topic for discussion at the National General Assembly. All we're seeking is some consistency, so the prepayment has changed a bit over recent years, but we're really seeking confirmation on the guarantees that the payment will be made in the financial year. Whether that's a prepayment or not, it's getting certainty around when that money will be received. Because at the end of the day, it's a timing difference, but it will impact how the accounts are presented. Yep.
Thank you very much. Councillor Finlay.
Mr Mayor, and fully support Jason again on this, and I know we've spoken to it before. Yeah, with that grant, I mean, the beauty of it is we've got a great accounting staff here, and when we do our cash reconciliation up, which I always request at the Internal Audit Committee report, we set aside that money, even though we receive it, or used to receive it in last financial year, that $6 million or whatever it was, Jason, we actually account for it as like cash in advance, so to speak, and we don't actually we don't need that money in the last year's budget to spend. We carry it over, so it's just an accounting difference. Yeah, when this first came in, no doubt the councils would have been in surplus that year. So this is just a bit of a retraction, and I think going forward would be fantastic just to receive on 1st of July, not the 3rd of June, because it does, you know, it's disproportionate to the actual year that you actually spend the money on to when you receive it, and that's the beauty of accrual accounting.
Any further comments or questions, councillors? Okay, the motion that council receive the financial report, capital expenditure report and the interim unaudited financial statements for 23-24 for the period ending 30th of June 2024. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 12, late report items. So there are two late report items for this agenda that weren't included in the original published agenda and will be addressed under the confidential section of the meeting as follows. Item 13.5, which is the Audit and Risk Committee Independent Members Appointment, and item 13.6, the Whitsunday Sports Park loan. So before we move into confidential, can we declare any conflicts of interest that might exist, please? Councillor Simpson.
Item 13.6 and the supplementary confidential attender Whitsunday Sports Park, as in previous occasions, I would prescribe conflict of interest and legal rank.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillor Finlay.
Yeah, through me. Yeah, 13.6, the sports park loan. The executive of the applicant has a business relationship with the company which I work for, and I'm the manager of SPV Partners and Sundays. Also have a prescribed conflict of interest for 13.1, which is the Flagstaff Hill Cafe Convention Centre tender. One of the applicants is a client of the company which I work for, and I'm the manager of that company, SPV Partners. So.
Thank you. Councillor Clifford.
I don't have a conflict, but just to be clear and transparent, I do on occasions attend their board meetings, but I am not a board member and I do not hold any executive position with the sports park.
Thank you. Is there nothing further? Okay. So we'll seek to close the meeting to the public at 9:59 a.m. in accordance with section 254J of the Local Government Regulations 2012 for closed meetings for the purpose of discussing item 13.1 Flagstaff Hill Cafe and Convention Centre tender, item 13.2 Flagstaff Hill Cafe tender, item 13.3 sublease Chute Harbour Marine Terminal Island transfers, item 13.4 road closure request Stone Island Holdings, item 13.5 Audit and Risk Committee Independent Members Appointment, item 13.6 Whitsunday Sports Park loan. all of which are closed under section negotiations relating to commercial matters involving local government, for which a public discussion will likely prejudice the interests of local government. So can I have a move to close the meeting? Councillor Simpson and second Councillor Clifford. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. me to redo that again? No? Okay. All good? Okay, item 13.1.
It's there just unclear prescribed conflict of interest on the applicant's is a type of company not a measure of sticky butts. So
Thank you. So the item is Flagstaff Hill Cafe Convention Centre Tender EOI. Mover Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Wright. The motion that Council formally withdraw the tender and close the expression of interest process for the lease of Flagstaff Hill Cafe and Convention Centre and advise of unsuccessful parties. I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried 6-0.
James, do you want to get Councillor Finlay?
For your information, Councillor Finlay, the motion at 13.1 was carried 6-0. Item 13.2, Flagstaff Hill Cafe tender. Move Councillor Finlay, second Councillor Wright. The motion that Council authorise the CEO to undertake option 1 within the report for a new tender process in line with the rest of the description as per the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour?
Mr. Mayor, can I speak to the motion?
Yep, certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and councillors and staff. The Flagstaff Hill, I'm going to call it the Conference Event Centre. It offers amazing views of our surrounding ocean and the town of and all uninterrupted. The facilities that we've got up there provide for the opportunity for many uses, including conferences, training, workshops, events, seminars, weddings, and even just other meal associated events as well, like signature dishes, signature restaurant meals, things like that. We've got a great commercial kitchen up there, which allows for the catering and the preparation of the meals, which can obviously be used in conjunction with the cafe part as well as the functional event centre. There's many activities and things that we can do up there. The Action Centre can be obviously promoted in conjunction with the council, both our tourism bodies as well, and it can really be put on the map as an amazing centre up there for the benefit of the whole region. So, and some of the things that we can do up there, as I mentioned before, just having a signature dish type of restaurant, something like that up there. Occasionally, we used to have those things in the park down here in Bar many years ago. Art displays and exhibitions, trade displays, anything like that. We've got a great storage room up there, so even from an art display point of view, you could actually have displays on wheels that you can wheel in, wheel out. We've got fantastic artists, amazing artists in the whole region, and an art gallery is always something that draws people to a place. And then they can obviously have coffee and things like that after that as well. So that really complements the cafe part of it. Indigenous tourism activities. We've got local Indigenous organisations in our town here. They could use it for part of their activities as well. Many other community events as well that could be used for. All sorts of things. And even sporting events, Mr. Mayor. We've got a great room up there. And with technology, state of origin nights, whatever. If one of the clubs want to have a function up there where they could, have a function where they have it on the big screen, they could do things like that. So there's, and one of the other things up there too is obviously as it gets developed and get used, there's probably a need for obviously transportation to get up there, or even further car parks, and we spoke about how that could actually happen. So this is a great facility for our region. And it's great that it's under our commercial director of council here to drive this. And if we get a great operator up there to run the cafe, I'm sure we can make this work for the benefit of the region. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finlay. Any further comment there? Okay. So the motion that Council authorise the CEO to undertake option 1, as noted in the report, I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.3, sublease Shute Harbour Marine Terminal, final transfers. Move Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Wright. Any comment on this one? No? The motion that Council authorise the CEO to execute a sublease at Shute Harbour Marine Terminal, 2 island transfers as per the report. I put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.4, road closure request, Stone Island Holdings. Move Councillor Clifford, second Councillor Bowman. Any further comment? Okay. The motion that Council does not agree to the partial road closure of Margaret Reynolds Drive, Bowen, I put to the vote. Those in favour? Those opposed? The motion is carried 6-1. Item 13.5, Audit and Risk Committee Independent Members Appointment. I'll move that one. Second, Councillor Collins. Councillor John Collins. Any comment? Okay, the motion that Council appoint Mr Peter Shevell and Mrs Mary Goodwin as independent external members of Council's Audit and Risk Committee in accordance with the Audit and Risk Committee Charter I put to the vote. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Okay, item 13.6, Whitsunday Sports Park.
Yeah, just to declare quite a conflict of interest as Executive Officer of Whitsunday Sport Park has a business relationship with the business that I manage.
Thank you, Councillor.
Same here, Mr Mayor, if I prescribe conflict of interest, such as previous cases. Justin's the owner of the Eclipse Financial and I'm a client of this in the past. I'll leave it for him.
Thank you, Councillor.
Who take those figures over?
Sorry, what was that, Councillor Collins?
Who take those figures up there? Those figures there to get budget?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a move? Councillor Clifford, second. Second, Councillor Wright. Okay, the motion that Council accept the proposal to pay $250,000 in final settlement of the outstanding loan from Whitsunday Sports Park is proposed by the financing partner to allow the club to commence operations. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried 3-2. Okay. Let the other councillors back in, please. So for Councillor Finlay and Councillor Simpson's information, item 13.6 was carried 3-2. Okay. Item number 14, matters of importance. Would any councillors like to raise any matters of importance? I'll go to Councillor Wright.
Thank you, through the chair. Back in 2022, I did raise a motion regarding new evidence that we found through one of the stakeholders regarding adding Johnny Cake Road to the register, and I did just ask if a report could come back with the new evidence that was found. So I found the motion just for the councillors and mayor who weren't here when this was moved. To this day, a report hasn't come back. So I just want to put this back on the table again. This was the motion, that a report be brought back to council regards new evidence from Northern Queensland Dry Tropics into investigating the possibility of adding Johnny Cake Road to the road register. So it was passed, and I would just like this, brought back up again and looked at, and whether more, particularly this section of road, but I know there's a lot of other areas around the region where roads aren't sort of being maintained, or only parts of roads are being maintained. And I would just like to possibly have a look at also bringing the policy back to the table as well for us to have a look at. So the road register policy. So I don't know whether a new motion is needed here, but I'm happy to supply a new motion. The report be brought back to Council's November meeting, and this has been discussed with Director of Infrastructure as well and Governance. So yeah, the report be brought back to Council's November meeting in respect of resolution that's up on the screen today, reviewing the road register policy and any other relevant associated policies and consideration of changes for the inclusion of Johnny Cake Road to the road register. And maybe if we could just add, just because I think I've added in November, could we just put 2024? Just so it's here.
Just for clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to have it.
Can I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Finlay?
Well, can I speak?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just in support, I suppose in support of the motion, but more generally, not just for Johnny Cake Road, there's like Councillor Wright said, there's numerous roads out there that probably need a review. Some, I'm not looking at suggesting anything drop off, but there's lots of property out there that I'm assuming there's landholders that don't have direct access from a public road, and with liability issues nowadays, they're not allowed, even though the road could be a gazetted road, it's not on our register, so that people are not physically allowed to maintain them themselves without a liability issue. They need to apply for a permit through council, and with every now and then, touch wood, hopefully not in the near future, there's accidents and things. Emergency services need to access these properties, so in support of Michelle's motion, I think we need to have a good long look at this, and not just for Johnny Cake Road, but lots of other roads out there that people don't have legal access from their front boundary to a council road.
Councillor Finlay?
Through me to Councillor Michelle, are we saying that Johnny Cake Road is not a gazetted road?
It has an easement, I think.
Could you answer that at all, Director? I think.
Through this now, I have not actually reviewed what is and isn't road reserve. I believe that the section that they're requesting to be included on the road register maintenance is actually part of a gazetted road reserve. It's about what extremity. So I think there's also a belief that Johnny Cake Road is incorrectly named. Again, geographical names board and then old maps basically say, now Johnny Cake Road goes this way, there's a section that goes from point A to the property. That would be part of the review and part of the report back to council. So from my understanding, the lead up to what led to the motion back in 22 was following a review of road registers and a desire to add Johnny Cake Road. So I don't believe it was actually formally assessed, and all the detail was provided, was communication provided to the landowner. And I think they're going to revisit that and put that before council in relation to the motion that's already on the books, which hasn't been seen through yet.
Thank you. Further comment? Okay. The motion of report be brought back to Council's November 2024 meeting in respect of the resolution noted up there, reviewing the road register policy and any other relevant policies and the consideration of changes for the inclusion of Johnny Cake Road to the road register. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Collins, do you have another matter of importance?
Yeah, like 3 times in the last 6 years, I think, I've raised it in general business. The street lighting from across the Point River Bridge right round to the tyre service. Up until January, there was one light flickering, and the problem was everyone wouldn't claim responsibility for them. Main roads wouldn't claim responsibility for them. In January, one fell over. It was rusted at the base. It fell over near BP. They took it out. Then in February, March, they came along and removed them all. Now there's nothing. There's no lighting, and the only light, even the one that was flickering, is gone.
Just on the highway?
Highway coming into Proserpine, and the only way coming into Proserpine, it's actually, I'm surprised there hasn't been more accidents at night time, because the light coming from the garden bed and the lights coming from BP service station, the only thing that it's putting any light on the highway there. So, look, I don't know, maybe it's election year and Ryan, Mayor Ryan and Gary might be able to track down with the right people, maybe get the people, I mean, I think I'm going to go and see the police because it's a joke. I mean, it's gone on for 5 or 6 years and no one wants to claim responsibility, yet Ergon ripped them down. And one of the guys, when he was out the front doing it, he was marking the poles and I said, oh, what are you fixing? He said, no, we don't know who owns them. And then the next week they came and ripped them all out. So they've cut them off at the bottom, they've got witches' hats there. As you come in the cross on the left-hand side, you'll see the witches' hats running around the highway. So if we could try and get something done about this, you know, it's just dragged on. It's an absolute bloody joke, really.
Okay, nothing further? Okay, excellent. All right, nothing further. I'll declare the meeting finished at 12:19 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.